introduced myself earlier. My name is Kaveh Keshmiri, and I work in Irvine, but I serve clients all over California. Our office handles personal injury clients in litigation. So we file lawsuits and represent injured parties who suffer an accident at the hands of a third party. A little bit about our firm. I'm the principal, and Farad Tax Manager is my associate. We practice in Irvine. We're both family-oriented people. We put family first, and we let our clients know that we're there to take care of them as family members. So a little bit about what we do. People, I'm sure you've seen commercials, you've seen billboards, you see the word accident attorney thrown around. And what is an accident? Well, an accident in the legal term is an accident that a third party could be potentially legally obligated to pay you for. So if you have the clear examples of a motor vehicle accident, motorcycle accident, pedestrian accident, trucking accident, also expands to premise liability cases. So if you have a slip and fall at a store, if you fall on the front lawn where the sprinkler head is supposed to be and there's an empty hole, if you fall on a cracked sidewalk that the city maintains, if you fall on a pothole that the city maintains, if you fall anywhere within a jurisdiction where a third party is responsible to maintain and care for, and you suffer an injury because of their negligence in maintaining that condition, you can potentially have a suit against that third party who is responsible for taking care of those premises. Airplane accidents, trucking accidents, head injury. We're seeing a lot more technology and science behind TBIs. TBI is a traumatic brain injury that someone suffers. We see the research in the NFL with the new technology for concussion syndromes. Now put that in the everyday experience that people suffer. Car accident whiplashes where your head bobbles forward and back and hits the headrest, to slip and falls on the floor when your head could hit the floor and you suffer a TBI injury there. So now we have more technology that can scan the brain, that can evaluate changes in the brain, that can pinpoint acute trauma as opposed to degenerative changes that may have built up over time. And so now we're seeing more and more evidence to support TBI head injuries from accidents that may not have had the support and the evidence and the scientific background to help support. So there's a lot of dynamic areas going on in the area of medical and personal injury law. So just some logistical standpoints. We handle accidents all over California. We're licensed to practice everywhere. I have cases in Oakland, in San Francisco, in San Jose, San Bernardino, Riverside, Orange County, Los Angeles, anywhere like that. We can also handle federal complaints, police misconduct cases when someone is wrongfully arrested or harassed or battered or assaulted or unreasonable use of force is applied. Those are federal cases that we would typically file in the federal court, and we can also handle those type of cases. Dog bite cases as well. As many as you know, insurance representatives, if you are a homeowner and you have a pet, a dog, typically homeowners insurance covers liability accidents involving a dog. So if you are attacked by a dog and that individual, the owner of the dog is insured, then there is a claim there that you can pursue. When? So you have 2 years from the date of your accident to file a lawsuit in court. Some people think, oh, it's a year, time has gone by, no one's gonna believe, why am I complaining now? You don't have to worry about all that because you have 2 years by law to bring an action in court from the time of the accident. Whether when the accident occurred or when you realize that you have an injury from an accident that had occurred. Now, how? A lot of people don't have experience going to attorneys' offices. They're intimidated by attorneys. They're thinking that they need to trust other people in the process, like their insurance adjusters, like the police, like their friends or their spouses, and they try to get some information about the situation. The painful reality is when someone suffers an accident, they're in a horrible state of mind. They are feeling vulnerable, they're feeling injured, they have a bad traumatic experience that they've just suffered, and they need help answering questions. They typically turn to these people and thinking that they're going to help them. But these people have their own interests and their own objectives in mind. The insurance company does not answer to you, they answer to their own supervisors and their own adjusters, and they're worried about how do we minimize the damage of any accident going forward. Your spouse's friends and cousins, those people, sure, they might care about you, but they might not have all the legal information and be able to support your position. And the police, well, the police are there to investigate and prepare a report. May go in your favor, may not go in your favor, but ultimately, they are not fully interested in your well-being. And that's why you need to consult with an attorney whenever you have an accident, because you don't know what possible rights you have, what possible damages you can recover, what theories of liability you can recover against an insured. And typically, firms like us, we provide free consultations. We don't charge you anything. If you have a case, or you have a friend who had a case, and you have questions about your case, we can help answer them without charging a dime. Typically, what happens is if a person suffers an injury, there's two ways of getting treatment. If they're insured, they can go through their insurance, employer-based or self-represented insurance. Medi-Cal, Medicare, those are perfectly alternatives as well. But there's also treatments on lien that offices like mine provide. Treatment on a lien is that if you're uninsured or you're worried about not getting the best coverage through your insurance, we have a network of physicians, chiropractors, surgeons, orthopedic specialists, radiologists who will treat you on a lien. A lien is a form that you sign that says, I'm not going to pay you until my case resolves. It comes through our office. So once we qualify your case as a viable case that we're going to represent, we will send you to all these medical providers, and you will not have to pay until your case is resolved. At that point, we would then negotiate these bills from the settlement with the providers, but you would not be responsible for it until that settlement arises. So it's a great option for people that are worried about paying out of pocket. We had a client, he had a horrible thoracic spine injury that he required a couple fusions on, and a spinal stimulator he installed, cost up towards the $300,000, $400,000. We did it all on a lien. He didn't have to pay for a dime. And he will only pay for it after his case settles. So if you're worried about the possibility of expending more costs and more medical services, we can provide that service for you. Now, to determine how we get paid, what's our incentive in this, right? I mean, we're lawyers, we're here to make money. Typically, most lawyers in the community, they charge their clients on an hourly basis. So once you visit like Mark or Noah, they're gonna give you a retainer and they're gonna say, we charge $350 per hour. In increments of 8 minutes or maybe 10 minutes, but they'll charge you as soon as that dial starts. Us, on the personal injury side, we do what's called contingent fee billing. That means we only take a percentage of whatever net recovery you make. So let's say the case goes on for 3 years and we spend X amount of hours on it. Those hours are inconsequential. We don't charge you for the hours of the work, we charge you for the percentage of the work of the settlement. And so we only take a percentage of the total recovery, which means if you don't recover anything, we don't charge you anything. So regardless of the result, the hourly biller is going to charge you whatever, win or lose. But we have a stake together in the case. We become partners in the case. And so in order for you to win, we have to win. And so that doubly incentivizes us to push your case to the highest maximum value we can get for your recovery. There's also costs obviously involved, filing fees, process server, court fees, medical record fees, photo processing, all that. We, as most attorneys in our field, will cover those costs and pay for it out of our own pocket, and upon recovery, then reduce it from the bill. Okay, here are a list of top 10 mistakes that personal injury victims make. Failing to seek medical treatment in a timely fashion. The most important thing you want to do when you get in an accident is to see a doctor, see your primary care physician, go to the ER, see somebody, because you need a paper trail. You can't just say, oh, I was in an accident 3 months ago and I go to my first appointment 3 months later. That doesn't look like the most diligent person, or the best example of someone who suffered injury. They're not going to wait 3 months, they're going to go see a doctor immediately. So that's the most important thing, go to see a doctor. Second mistake, allowing the insurance company adjuster to visit in person. You never ever want to meet with an insurance adjuster, especially from the other side, without your attorney present. Because anything you say will be used against you, just like in a Miranda reading when you're a suspect with the court. Signing a settlement release shortly after the accident. That's another way the adjuster will try to resolve your case without maybe giving you the best benefit, as they are trying to close their file as soon as they can. Giving the liability insurance company a recorded interview. You never want to give a recorded interview without your attorney. Failing to use health insurance. Failing to use medical coverage. Stopping treatment before you are fully recovered. That's a big one. We have a lot of clients, they have busy lives, they have families, they have work, but you have to understand it's medical treatment. You have to finish, you have to do everything the doctor says. You have to be, we typically will handhold our clients, make sure they're going to their appointments, make sure they're going to their doctors, make sure they're not missing appointments, because all of that will make your file look weaker. Missing compensation and then settling. So a lot of this has to do basically with you making decisions without an attorney. Now, this is a particular scenario where a lot of people suffer accidents from, when they get in an accident with someone who doesn't have insurance. As you know, typically a lot of people have coverage for UIM, which is uninsured, underinsured motorist coverage. That means that if someone hits you and they're uninsured, or it's a hit and run, you can recover from your own insurance company in their place. So if you have a 1530 policy, you could potentially recover up to $30,000 for a UIM claim. So don't fear if the person that hits you was a hit and run, or if they don't have insurance. You can still potentially recover based on your own comprehensive coverage. Now here is a typical timeline of how cases begin from fruition to resolution. We will identify the insurance coverage, either your own or that third party who was liable. We'll try to get rid of your property damage, usually within a month of the accident, by sending it to a repair shop, usually taken care of by your own insurance or the opposite third party. We'll do your medical records request. Your medical treatment will complete. Typically, it could stretch. It could be from 2 months. Let's say it's a soft tissue injury to your back from a rear end. You typically will do chiropractor for a couple months and do some MRIs and go on your way with some home exercises to be prescribed. But if it's a little bit bigger, let's say you do the therapy and you're still feeling pain, then we have to send you to a pain management consultant. They can inject you with epidural cortisone injections to help alleviate the pain. If the pain doesn't go away from that point, maybe you have to go seek a surgery's recommendation to see if there's other alternative medicine that can help you with your pain. That could take up to 2 years. It can be a long process, but your health is at stake, and you have one opportunity to recover for an accident. One opportunity, because people will feel residual pain. I'm sure many of you have had back pain from a stupid accident, or lifting weights at the gym, or sleeping bad. You will feel that pain for months, maybe not even years. Think how bad it is with a 4,000-pound truck hitting you, or a motorcyclist falling on the sidewalk. You have one opportunity to recover for that accident. If you blow it, your health is at jeopardy, and you could be leaving money on the table. After that process of the medical treatment is over, then we have a full idea of what your injuries are and what damages we can pursue on your behalf. Then we will start the demand package, and we will give them a chance to evaluate it. And if they either accept our demand letter to settle the case, or they reject it and we have to go to court. These are typical questions that clients will ask me when they come to my office. How long will it take to settle my case? It depends. It could be from anything from a couple weeks to a couple years if we're in litigation. As you know, with the court system, ever since COVID, they're setting trials out 3 years. I file a case today, my trial date is in 2025, 2026. So the court system unfortunately moved very, very slow. But the good thing is we do most of the work and we give you updates on a monthly basis. You have to go to court. Typically 99% of cases settle without a client stepping in court. 99% of cases, you will never step in court. Even if you file a case, even if you're represented by attorney, only 1%, 2% of cases have the client actually go to court. How much will the insurance company pay for pain and suffering? There is no formula for pain and suffering. The amount of pain and suffering is usually tied to the severity of your injury. So a soft tissue back injury obviously will typically have less pain and suffering than a quadriplegic or someone who had a leg amputated. Depends on the severity of the impact on your life, on your job, on your relationships, on your social activities, on your sports activities. The determination of pain and suffering is determined by how much the injury affects your overall life. The second question, how much is my case worth? Again, it depends on the amount of damage to your vehicle, the nature of your injuries, the duration and frequency of your medical treatment, future medical treatment, and possibly permanent injuries and ongoing disability. All right, and that's about the end of our presentation. I know it's a lot of information. It's a growing field with a lot of moving parts, but I hope you know we have an open door policy, so my part's here. I've got to know you all over this last couple months, and hope to get to know a lot more of you soon as there's new members coming in. But yeah.
Well, on that one point you had up there, it said don't sign anything after an accident has occurred. It actually helped my client out. I have a client that's a doctor, and of course I don't do any of this stuff, but he said, Mark, I don't know what to do. My dog bit someone in the neighborhood, and I'm a doctor by profession, so he said, well, what do you think I should do? And he and I talked, and he invited the guy down to his doctor's office. He treated the wound, got him all fixed up, and then he says, here's $100 on me, go and have dinner. And the guy took it, and then the guy, like 2 months later, tried to sue him. And I told the other attorney, I says, this case has already been settled. They had an offer in compromise. He offered to treat it as a doctor, provide medical services, and he gave him cash consideration. It's a done deal. They backed away and you never got anything. Wow. So remember that, any of you.
I would represent that guy. I'd still sue your client.
That means you would go for a dinner with an attorney.
I'd say that was just a tip. Any questions? Yes, Ed.
Yeah, so with all these new technologies on the car, is there a law, or can you ask if the other party does not want to provide information? For example, if their car has been recording the whole situation, is this by law they have to provide, or they can hold back?
Are you talking about EDR data?
Yeah.
Yeah, the black box in the car?
Yeah.
Typically, they will not produce that, but when you hire an attorney, we can retrieve that information.
So, even if the other party doesn't want to provide it,
well,
by law they have to?
If it goes to court, they have to provide it.
Okay.
Yeah. Typically, before court, they're not under an order or a court, rule to produce anything. They're typically volunteering information to you at that point. In order to get them to force them to produce it, yeah, you have to file a lawsuit. But we have accident reconstruction experts who have a device they can go and plug it into the vehicle, and they'll pull all the data of accidents in the last 2 years. But I've had some mixed results with that. Sometimes they record accidents that's not even related to our accident, like our accident didn't get recorded. Like if the car goes up and bumping like really fast and severe, they'll think that's an accident. So the technology is getting there.
I have a question. Yeah, so you are not paid by hourly, and it takes sometimes over a year, to resolve the case.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of environment and engagement for you guys. So are you taking the cases selectively, or are you taking small claims, small cases?
Yeah, typically no. I mean, we'll have to invest our time properly. So either we will handle the case, or we have other team members or associates that can handle the case. And it just depends. It depends on severity of the case. Sometimes you think an accident is small, and then a person has unfortunate, unforeseeable side effect. We have a concept in the law called exacerbation of pre-existing injuries. So if a guy had 2 surgeries the day before the accident, and it's a minor injury, but for him, because he was fragile, he had an even worse outcome, you can recover the worst outcome because he was in the position he was at the time of the accident. You have to take him as you find him, you know what I mean? You can't say, oh, a 25-year-old wouldn't have suffered that injury, but the 65-year-old suffered a bad injury. You know, so we have to evaluate all aspects of the case, that even if you think it's not a huge case, it could potentially be a huge case.
Unfortunately, I gotta cut the questions off now, but I'm sure Kaveh would be happy to talk to you after the meeting if you have